Welcome to Time to Press Pause, a podcast for CEOs by CEOs. I'm your host, Ellen Williams, CEO of the Salient Strategist, and today I'm speaking with Stephen Foster. He's the founder of One Golden Nugget and publisher of One Golden Nugget, a journey of self-discovery, sharing wisdom and dream-making. He's been a serial entrepreneur for over 25 years, creating entertainment companies, and in his own words, only to watch them fall apart. He attributes One Golden Nugget to changing his life forever. Hi, Stephen. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Ellen. What a pleasure. And what a great idea this podcast is. Well done on the initiative. It's great to be here.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So Stephen and I have had some conversations around his background and the podcast, and I'm really excited to have him here. The first thing is, of course, please tell us when in your professional experience or even personal, did you find the need to press pause?
Yeah, it's a good question, pressing pause. And I don't think it's one isolated incident. I'm doing it all the time. And the reason I'm doing it all the time is the great Ray Dalio, who I'm a huge fan of, his nugget of wisdom is pain plus reflection equals progress. So as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, CEO, whatever, it's my opinion that you're constantly in pain because the growth of life and the growth of a business is constant, is painful, and that's part of the process. Growth brings pain. So when it does, it comes in different, sometimes you're in complete flow and everything's great. And then you'll get these pain kind of experiences where you're learning or something's not going right or whatever. So for me, that's the time to press pause and then reflect, what's the experience teaching me? What's the lesson within it? And if you don't pause and you just carry on through, I found in my experience, that's when mistakes come. Because you're constantly ploughing on, and I don't think that's correct. I think it's time to sit back, listen, reflect, and then go again. And then, because within the pain, there's these great learnings, and there's these, within those challenges. So you learn so much from going through those experiences. So if you don't pause and reflect, you kind of miss out on the opportunity to learn from it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Constant pause, that's a little tricky, I think, for some, because as you said, a lot of entrepreneurs, CEOs, they're always moving, always forward, at least hoping to be moving forward, right? And certainly growth has different steps, different layers, and different challenges that come at each one of those. Could you maybe give us a story about one of the times that you press pause?
Absolutely. I mean, a slightly longer pause was maybe 11 years ago when I got divorced, and so my life completely changed. So actually, at that point, I took nearly 2 months out. I moved to a different country, and it was an opportunity to reflect and think, actually, where am I going next? And I'm so glad I did because, my body and mind needed it. When you go through those traumas, which a divorce is, or grief or anything like that, in my opinion, that's a different sort of pause. If you've got a problem in business and you're pausing, that's one thing. I think those traumas that hit us, and they do for everybody. My business is collecting wisdom. I've spoken to thousands of people about collecting their one golden nugget of wisdom. So you learn that actually, it's not just you, it's everybody. We go through those experiences. So that was certainly one time that I paused for a couple of months and I reinvented myself, because that's a great thing. I reinvented myself, 3 or 4 times. And to do that and to pause, for that couple of months, literally, I didn't really do anything because I had a business that had failed at that point as well. So it was like, okay, well, what am I doing next? So that pause allows you the reflection to do that. So that's a big pause. Where I say I'm constantly pausing, sometimes those pauses are an hour. Sometimes those pauses are half a day or maybe a couple of days, but no longer than that in the general scheme of business. And I learned that from a guy called Akhtar Badshah, who ran Microsoft Philanthropy for Bill Gates. He's a dear friend. We collected lots of nuggets from him, gave away billions to good causes. And I said to him, when it's not working, what do you do? And he goes, I just pause. I go for a walk, collect my thoughts, and walk away from the situation. And I think the time to do that is when you feel it. When you feel resistance in life and things that just aren't working, you sit there and you're trying to do this and that, and nothing's happening, and it's all
Exactly.
it all feels almost like it's falling apart. That's the time to pause when you feel it, or you've got a cloudy head. This morning I didn't feel so good. I sat at my desk and I'm just not getting anywhere. So it's just I went and meditated for an hour. And I feel that meditation is very important. They're the time to pause when you don't feel, you feel it.
Yeah. I love that you said pause can be, short, just a few minutes, a half hour, an hour. Going for a walk could be pressing pause. But you did mention, maybe a couple days. And when a CEO takes that step back for a couple days before making a decision, whatever that decision is, there's a chance that other people are relying on that decision. What kind of advice do you have for how a CEO can communicate the need to press pause to his team so that they're on board with the fact that this decision is maybe larger or more impactful, and it's worth it for the CEO to take the extra time?
Yeah, I think there's two things there. I think first of all, CEOs being vulnerable is the superpower these days. The idea of leaders being fear driven, which certainly in the 80s, 90s they were, right? Leaders these days should be vulnerable. So you should be able to, you should have built an infrastructure and a team to be able to communicate that. And I do. Sometimes if my mental health's not good, I'm like, look, I need just to pause on this. I think you just communicate it. Also, in this world of instant communication, I think it's a classy thing to pause. I think it's a classy thing to say to people, actually, it's Wednesday. I'm going to come back to you on Monday about this. And you don't have to necessarily give an explanation. It's like, yeah, I'll come back to you on this. I found the most competent leaders do that. They don't feel the need to always communicate that they're going to take a pause on an idea, on a decision. And I also feel that the emotion gets caught up in decision making. So the power of the pause allows the emotion to dissipate and to settle. And when it does, then you can make a better decision that's based on actual facts. What are the facts? And a great exercise for that is zero-based thinking, is to actually write out, sometimes if you have a problem, write it out. But what are the facts without emotion? What is the truth? Because the mind can play games on you.
Yeah.
It can come up with scenarios, and it can come up with thoughts that are just simply not true. So you don't engage in that thinking. It's you take a step back, you pause, and it's like zero-based thinking. It's like, okay, what is the truth behind this? The truth is always the truth. So that's another reason to pause.
I really like that you approached the world and the speed in which everyone communicates. And it's true. There are emails coming in. I got an email this morning that said, "Hey, I didn't hear back from so and so. Can you reach out to them?" And it was less than 24 hours. So there is this expectation of quick communication. And I appreciate that your advice is, rather than saying, "I'm going to pause," you simply say, "I'll get back to you at a period of time that you feel you're going to need in order to think it through, right? Get to the truth, separate from emotions, and be able to give the best decision you can."
Yeah.
I think that's a great advice, and I'm going to start doing doing that today. I'll get back to you at a certain time, but then you're able to set expectations so that people aren't eager to hear back from you when they don't. So I think that's really great advice.
Yeah, because people do expect that instant communication, and I think it's okay to say, look, I'm going to get back to you, in X amount of time. you don't feel the need to do anything else. And I think society actually doesn't, it kind of weighs heavy on you that actually you should be making these decisions. You must keep going. You must, where is it? Speed, 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 speed. Great leadership these days and building a company isn't about that. It's about the power of the pause, and it's slowing down as things speed up in this digital world, right? I don't think our brains are capable of keeping up with that. We still have the brain we had back from when man was just crawling out of his cave. Just don't think we're able to keep up at that pace. So but that's for people to make their decision and say, actually, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to run my life. This is how I'm going to build my life, whatever I'm doing. And it's not based on anyone else's agenda or their expectation of you. Forget that. That we had a great nugget once, that there is momentum in stillness. If you think about time, and really time is an illusion to because there's only ever the present moment, right? The future and the past are just illusions. The past is gone and the future hasn't arrived yet. So there's always just the present moment.
Yes.
And what I've learned from doing Nugget is, in that present moment, it's about raising vibration and energy so that you move up. So having that stillness and being very much in the present moment allows you to hear, because life is constantly feeding back, right? The universe is constantly giving you clues and feedback. So being still and being very present allows you to elevate in that position, rather than, some point in the future this is gonna happen, this is, no, it's always only the present moment. Being mindful and being very, very present in that moment, and listening to what the feedback of life is, and then making a decision, from then. But having said that, I'm not always great at it.
It takes practice for sure. I think you definitely hit on the mark at mindfulness. Mindfulness will definitely bubble up that feeling of it's time to press pause when you're in the moment and you understand the present and what's going on, and you're really focused on it. I think, to your point, you kind of feel it, when it's time to press pause. So you had that 2-month pause. What was the outcome of being able to really reflect and reinvent yourself after those 2 months 11 years ago?
Well, it was incredible, because at the start of the pause, I was living in my office. I had no money. My business had gone bust. I was broke. The whole life had completely fallen apart. 2 months later, I'm living in a beautiful penthouse. Business is rocking, because I'd elevated myself in the present moment. I'd shifted vibration. I'd shifted energy. And that's what you need to do sometimes, right? Is bring that positive energy back in, and that life force back in, so it happens automatically. It's not something you force, it just happens. And I had that experience. How can you go from 1 minute living in a couch in your office, broke and torn apart, to 2 months later having paused to then be like, wow, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because cream rises to the top always.
In that reinvention, it allowed you to see things differently, to get clarity. You said, you raised your vibration and your meditation. You've mentioned mental health. Was it a launch of a new business after those 2 months?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was just a replenishment of energy, because you're just, as a body, you're just vibration energy. That's all you are. It's just energy. So if you can replenish that energy by taking a pause, what happens is you then get a different life experience, because you're on a different frequency to where you were. And listen, this is not my information. This is information that I've collected from people from giving their nugget. I haven't made this thing up. I've spoken to the world's most amazing people that have told me all the same thing. So it's not like, oh, this is my idea. It's like I'm not clever enough to make this sort of stuff up. I just copy what great people tell me and I go and do it. And they're all pausing always and reflecting.
Yeah. Well, certainly everything that you bring to today's podcast is exactly why I invited you to our podcast. Your collective knowledge, the work you've done over the years, the people you've spoken to, but it brings you to your approach and the way in which you communicate how you live your life. And I think that's really valuable to all the listeners. Certainly, I've already gotten value from our conversation, and greatly appreciate it. Do you have any final advice for the listeners?
The greatest nugget we've ever collected is that in life we all want happiness, and the route to happiness is kindness. So be kind to everybody, be kind in business, be kind to everybody, interactions that you do, and from it comes happiness. Forget money. Money comes just as a result of doing what you do because you are happy, so it's kindness. Focus on that. Be kind to everybody. The world doesn't need anything else right now, just kindness.
That's wonderful. I admit I'm a work in progress on that, but
We
certainly,
all are. We all are.
getting.
We all
Okay. So I'm in good company. I appreciate that. Stephen, thank you so much. It's totally been a pleasure speaking with you. You gave us some great nuggets of your own.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Press Pause. To learn more about Stephen Foster, go to onegoldennugget.com. To learn more about me, go to thesalientstrategist.com. And be sure to join us again wherever you listen to your podcast.